it's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about prepping for pre-releases and how to like get yourself like emotionally prepared, like how I go about like what I do for going about prepping a pre-release. This is what I do. And also like I'm going to talk about like leading up to like when you're actually in the pre-release, like tips and like what I do and like what helps me out, because it can be like really easy to get overwhelmed because, you know, like no one has played with this set before. It's not like you're playing, you know, a format where you can kind of like study up and things. Yes, you can study and do work and to prep yourself, but you know, if you're trying to like get really good at a deck, you know, it's not like something like that. So yeah, these are like my tips and like what I do. So the first thing I do is I study the set. I make sure to look at Mythic Spoiler. I make sure to do that so that I know what's going on, so I'm not just like, wait, this card's in here? What? I've never seen this before in my life. Now, I'm not saying you have to memorize every single card, but, you know, if there's like a new mechanic, you may want to know what the mechanic does. Yes, it's going to be a pre-release event, so like basically everyone, for the most part, is going to be like reading the cards just so that they can remember what they do. I've done that a lot. Like a lot of times I'll be playing and I'll play something and my opponent just takes the cards so they can read it. Good thing to do. Oh, I didn't even would plan on talking about this, but that's an important thing too, is make sure to do that. You're not responsible for memorizing every card in the set. So make sure you do that and make sure you like ask your opponent for the cards so that you can see what they do. Make sure to read carefully, you know, reading. Okay, so that's that. But into that is my next point, which is to pay really close attention to the commons and uncommons in the set. I know a lot of people can get really blindsided by like the rares and like, oh, like how cool things are. Are the rares important? Yes, absolutely, but let me tell you something. There's going to be, you know, in your pool of cards and what you get, say they've been typically doing the 6 packs, and so you get your 6 packs, so each of them has a rare in it, and you have your rare that just comes with it. So you have like 7 rares guaranteed, and that's a small section of your cards as a whole that you're going to get. So only focusing on the rares is really not a good thing. And also too, that's saying that all those rares are in your colors. LOL, that's not gonna happen. What's gonna probably end up happening is that you're like, oh, I'm totally gonna go green-white, and your rare is like blue. Or you're like, you know, the rare that you get, like, you know, in the pack, your mythic foil, whatever thing. Yeah, that's probably gonna be an off-color thing. So yeah, don't always count on the rares. Really pay attention to the commons and uncommons. They're going to take up the majority and the bulk of your deck, so you want to make sure you know the really, really good commons and uncommons. Next point is watch videos to prep yourself, to see, okay, like, what cards are good. So if you're watching videos and people, like, you know, you watch 3 different people and they all say one card's good, hey, guess what? It's probably really good. So you should probably look out for it, and you should probably include it in your deck if that's in your colors. However, with this point, even like for me when I make these videos, I haven't played with the set before. So I may be like, hey guys, this card's gonna be super awesome. And guess what? Maybe the card really isn't that good because I haven't played with the set. I'm just looking at it from an outside perspective being like, the card seems okay. So, you know, take what people say with kind of a grain of salt. Like, take what they say and be like, okay. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's your opinion with the cards, and even like, you know, there's some cards that I think are just like undeniably like really good, but there's room for disagreements. There's room for people to be like, hey, I don't think that card's really good, whatever. Okay, next point. And this is like a mentality thing, is to understand that sealed is random. There are going to be people out there whose pools are just significantly better than yours. It's random, and that's why I think a lot of people like don't like sealed, is because it is 100% completely random. At least in something like draft, it is random, but you pick the cards in your deck, so there's a lot more skill. Sealed is just cards, here go, but you're responsible for building your own deck, which tests a lot of skill as well, because building your own deck in like 30 minutes or however much time you have is really a pretty difficult thing, actually. So understand, yes, that sealed is a random thing, and if you don't do well, hey, maybe your pool just wasn't that good. Let's be real here. Maybe you just happen to get like the 7 rares and mythics that were just not good in the set. It happens. Or again, maybe your things are just off color, because let's be real here, that happens to everyone. Everyone. Okay, next point. So when you're past all of that stuff in the stages and you're sitting down and you're making your sealed pool, don't panic. I know that's like such an instinct. I always feel like when they're like, okay, go, and I'm just like freeze panic. Oh my god, I gotta build a deck now. Ah. Okay, so the first thing I would do is to lay your cards out by color. This is a really, really easy tip, but I really like doing this. It really helps me out a lot. I'm also a very visual person, so like being able to see the piles, it makes things easier for me. Now, here's what I do is I kind of within that pile of, say, like my black cards, what I like to do is I like to say, okay, out of the 25 black cards, 20 of them are playable. I'm just spewing out random numbers here. Wow, your black pool's really, really good. So 25 of those cards, no way, I can't play them. And then what I do with those cards is I take those cards and I just put them back in my, you know, they usually give you a little box or whatever, you know, to hold your cards, and I usually just put them in there because I'm like, I'm not gonna play with these cards. Weed out the bad cards. Even if the cards are like mildly okay, keep them in there. And what this is gonna do for you is it's gonna make it so you can visually see, okay, I have 20 black cards that are really awesome. However, blue, I only have like 5 blue playables. I'm probably not going to be playing blue. And then I just put it away completely because I'm like, nothing in blue. Or sometimes in your pool, you know, with randomization and colors, you only get like 10 cards of one color. And you're like, I can't even make this work because only 3 out of those 10 cards are even playable. So really getting in your head to say like, okay, this is a playable card. This is it's maybe not the best card, but it's playable. I can do it. But then there's some cards that are just abysmal, you can't even play with them, they're just awful, not even good. You know, weeding those cards out. And again, that knowledge of like differentiating, like, okay, saying this card's bad, this card, you know, whatever, it takes time, I think, to really like get used to it. And again, see how cards are used in different, not like formats, but like different, I don't know what the word is, but like, you know, cards that are really good and sealed are maybe really bad in other formats. So that's just something that happens. Okay, so yeah, what I would say is just do that, and then you count how many things, and then that's really good for helping you to see how many cards are good in each of your colors, also to figure out how many colors you're doing. Now, being conscious if a set has mana fixing is so important. When you're going through your list, you're going through Mythic Spoiler, whatever you're going through, to find out, you know, to see what's in the set, really pay attention to the mana fixing. Really know, is there an Evolving Wilds in the set? You know, what other mana fixing versions are there? Is there land cycling? Like, what is going on in the set? Really important to know that, because then you can say to yourself, what kind of set is this? How many colors does Wizards want me to play in this set? Now, of course, it's up to you. If you want to be a complete savage and do 5 colors, listen, there's nothing stopping you. But being aware of what Wizards really designs this set as, to be 2 colors, something you'll hear that a lot. People say, this is a 2-color set, this is a 3-color set. For example, sets that have tri-lands. Okay, they're pushing 3-color decks, that's what they want you to do. Sets with dual lands, and not like the big fancy dual lands, but dual lands like the Guild Gates, or like the Gain Life lands, or the Scry lands. Those are 2-color lands, so it's pushing for a 2-color set. The majority of the time you're going to want to do 2 colors, so that's something to keep in the back of your head, is that's what you want to do for the most part. I even like 1 color, like, your 1 color's got to be really good, but you're probably going to want to splash another color, like, let's be real here, to have some variety. Okay, and now that you've built your deck, or you're in the process of getting there for your deck, what I would say is to lay out your deck for your mana curve. This is going to be really, really helpful for you so that you can see, I have a lot of stuff at 3 mana, but nothing at 6. What can I pull in? And sometimes too, and this is a really, really good note that I found, is if you don't really have a lot of late game cards, but say you just randomly have a 8 mana 8/8, just throw in the 8 mana 8/8. It doesn't do anything, it's just vanilla, but it's a really, really big dude. So, you know, maybe you want to like throw something like that in there. So having like a big dude, a big threat at the end of your curve, super important. I know when like all the Eldrazi like menace things were running around, you know, just to have like one really big threat, not necessarily just like one of the big ones like Kozilek, the nameless, just like a like Breaker of Armies or something, just to have like a really big threat on the field is really good and really important. Okay, so now after you've laid out your curve and you figured that whole thing out, making sure you have a variety of stuff in each of the colors. 1 mana, you're probably not going to have a ton of stuff, but like 2, 3, 4 mana, you're probably going to have quite a big deal, and then as it gets higher, less and less cards. Now, here's the deal, is you want to lay out your curve for your lands and to see how many lands you need to each. Say, let's just make this really easy. You're doing 2 colors. So you know, the average land number that I personally like for myself is 17. I really don't go less, and I really usually don't go, sometimes I do go more, okay? I go more often than I go less. I think like the only times I would ever recommend someone to do 16 is if you have like, the highest curve that you have is like 3. I don't even know why, but that just, whatever. Yeah, you really, really don't want, I think, things in like 16, 17, good number. A lot of people do 18, they think that's a really good number just to have that extra land. But again, I think it depends on, you know, your curve, it depends on your mana fixing, like it just depends on so many things, you know. More colors, you're gonna need like a couple more lands to balance that out. So after you've laid that out, count your mana symbols. Now, when you're doing this, also pay attention to the fact that some cards have, you know, the mana symbols on top, but also in the cards they may say pay, you know, the mana cost may be 1 colorless and 2 blue. Okay, so then you'd count that as 2, but say in that cost it has like a blue symbol and it's like pay blue to tap. Count that in as your additional symbols, because what if that's ability that you can activate right away? You want to make sure you have enough blue symbols for that. So if you're doing 2 colors, you want to make sure you can count up all your things and say, okay, I have 20 blue symbols and 9 red symbols. Okay, from there, balance it out. But don't ever be like, oh man, I can only run like 1 mountain. That's totally fine. Nope. Also pay attention in your lands and your mana, pay attention to doubles of things. So if you have like double blue symbols, that's a key to really get more blue so that you can have that. Balancing your mana, I think, is a super tough thing. I personally, this is like a really good tip that I do all the time, is I fix my mana as I go. Like, and when I say that, I mean like as I play, I'm like, oh wow, like I noticed in 3 games, and you know, I was like, okay, I need to change this. I need to add 1 more thing. I don't usually do like, let's change 7 lands around, but I'm like, hey, change a land here or there, doesn't really hurt. So, yeah, I think that was it for what I want to talk about prepping for a pre-release and kind of like getting into like the modes and like tips that I have for, you know, playing sealed. But I would really just say like, don't sweat it if you don't do well in sealed, because you know what, like, it's not for everyone, and really, to me, I always look at sealed as kind of like a fun thing. You know, the set just came out, let's have some fun with it. You know, to me, I don't really see it as a super, super competitive thing. Some people do, but that's just not how I view it, so yeah, that's it, and I'll talk to you guys later.